Okay, someone has asked a question about how to add a little bit of texture to a picture like this to try and make it a little bit more interesting and not just have kind of like a flat black background or a flat white background or a flat unicolor background. Just add some texture to the kinds of colors that you're looking at. So this is a little guide on how to do that. First thing would be to go and find yourself some picture. So I just go like, hey, this is a raccoon, so raccoons are associated with rivers. So I was like, hey, let's find some river rocks. And I went and found this river rock background. So just kind of like a generic, kind of any kind of background is going to fill in. And I'm going to not use it as like a main picture, so you'll never actually know where things come from. So I copied and pasted it, and then I've pasted it in here as a floating layer. And obviously it's like super in the way and like not great, not what we actually want. And what I want to do is I'm going to expand it in size. So I'm going to scale it up so that it actually like will cover the entirety of the surface of the picture. All of my like flat colors. And now what I want to do is I want to have this sit in front of all of the kind of, if I were to get rid of this, I click on the eye. I want to have this sit in front of the kind of the green, the white, and the other green bar. So I want all the other things to pop out. So they should all be visible. And I'm going to have all of those bars. I want to find where those bars are, which are currently being covered up. The title separator, so that shows up there, and then whatever it is labeling the other, is the map separator? No. Well, I'm trying to find this other brown bar. What if I click on this? Oh, it's part of the bottom green panel. It's like part of the panel. So, oh well, if I don't have that, if I have it show up there, it's not the end of the world. It should have this brown bar be a different layer than the green bar if I want to treat them differently in any way. But that's what I get for going back. So now what I have is I have this situated between these layers, so it's not going to apply anything to the picture. It's not going to apply anything to like the maps or anything like that I have like this. And I obviously don't want it to look like this. What I could do is I could just change the opacity on this. So what I do is I click on the picture itself and I change the opacity so it's going to look like kind of clear. And I could do it like that if I wanted to. In that way, it's actually even showing up in the text. So maybe I push the text up above that, so it's not going to happen to the text. I could do it to that, right? One way I could do it is I could like make it more opaque like that, or slightly less opaque to make it more visible. And something like that would give it that kind of texture. But there's still a lot of stuff. It's a little bit noisier than I want it to be. So what I want to do is I'm going to just change it back up to 100% opacity. So it's still very much in the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and change this color, and I want to remove all of the grays and blacks and whites, and I just want it to be black and white. I just want to get like the absolute just the texture itself from this. And what I can do is I can go to colors and then go to threshold. And by moving this little bar, what I can do is I can make the threshold so that's like everything in the thing is black, or I can make it so everything is white. So I'm going to try and find like a middle ground so I can still get some texture out of it. Without having a bunch of like little tiny white dots or anything like it. And so what I've done now is I've changed it to a black and white image in threshold, and now I'll pull the opacity down again and see how that ends up looking. I think that actually looks a lot better than something with all of those different colors. So I can change the opacity here, and maybe a little bit lower than that. So it'll show up, it'll look like there's something in the background, but you're never really going to like look at that. That's not going to be the main thing. It's just keeping your eye a little bit busy. And what I want to still do is I don't want all this other stuff, so I'm actually going to erase all of these other things out of it. So I can, with a select tool, do this. So I can select and erase anything that's above this black line. So that's one way to do it. Another way that I could do this is I could use actually an eraser. And what you see right here is I've actually removed my selection. So I click to remove the selection. And I have this big giant eraser bar. That is some of the details that was hidden on this bar. I have to click it there. So I have to make it shrink a little bit. So I could do it like this too. I could actually like manually erase the edges right here. What's one way to do it? Another way to do it is to kind of zoom in like this and just manually erase around the corners. And then what I can do is, since I don't really want to erase like the whole thing all the way over, is now that I've clicked in one area, if I hold down the Shift key, it gives me a straight line where between where I last clicked and where I'm about to click, it's going to do as if I had done a perfectly straight line. So that's another way to remove massive amounts of material like that all in one order, so that I'm not like accidentally going like this and then erasing portions of it because I have there's a jittery hand or whatever. Right, so that's one way that you can go about doing this. And now I have applied a little bit of texture to. Now let my jittery hand erase some more that I didn't want to. I've applied a little bit of texture to this, made it look a little bit more interesting, made it a little bit more graphically interesting. So there you go. That is how you would apply a texture layer to things to kind of give it some sort of depth and make it a little bit more interesting to the eye. Thank you.